Okay, it is 6:05. I am not sure if anyone will be able to log on at this time, but I figured I would just start. And then, of course, you guys can catch this on um, the replay or whatever post later. And if anyone signs on, I'll be happy to talk to you. So I'll just run through my stuff that I have. And like I said, if you join in the middle, just rewind to the beginning and get caught up. Okay, so this week's the article reaction paper is the big assignment that nobody really has asked any questions about yet. I feel like it's pretty straightforward, but if you do have come across anything, of course, feel free to email me and ask. So journal number 2 is due at the end of next week, so week 7. Just clarification for that. If you click on like the Dropbox where it says journal 2, it gives a description of what to do, and then it says journal number 3. Ignore the 3. It's only number 2. You didn't miss one. We took one out of the course, so I just want to make sure you don't worry about that. Okay, so the next big assignment is obviously your final video that you have and the critique that you'll write for that. So you don't have to do a transcript. So yay, you did that. That was the most difficult, tedious thing to do probably that you'll do in the course / maybe program as far as analyzing your counseling skills. So that you won't have to do that again. Okay, so you'll need 2 things. You'll need the rubric for the final video and critique. One second. Never mind, it's only one rubric. Yep, under student course materials, rubric, final tape session, and critique. So 1 rubric for this. Okay, so what I'm looking for in this video, sorry, I should have pulled up the course. I think it's 20 to 25 minutes. Let me double check so I don't tell you wrong. I'm sure it says, but you guys are gonna ask and I'm not gonna want to give you wrong information. All right, let's see. Okay, so yeah, there's 2 drop boxes. You can put one in the final videotape session as your tape, and your critique, your written critique will go in the other one. It must be in the syllabus. All right. Yep, okay, 20 to 25 minutes is the time length, which is in the syllabus. It's not listed under the Dropbox. So I hope that all recorded. Okay, so yes, so 2 drop boxes just like before. One you'll submit the written critique, one you'll submit your 20 to 25 minute video. I do give you about 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes usually leeway in either direction. So you could do technically 17 minutes to 28 minutes without any points deducted. So of course, set a timer or something. It's easy to meet the time requirement. It's only 5 minutes longer than your last one. I would like you to, this is not like part of grading, but it's just good for time management. Maybe set your phone on vibrate or set an alarm for like 20 minutes. And when it goes off, you'll know you have 5 minutes to wrap up. So it's kind of good to get in the habit of having a time frame you need to work in and having a way to ease out of your session. Like a lot of you just cut yourself off at 15 minutes or just like finish the sentence, and that's fine. I didn't tell you you had to wrap up, but it's just good to, and a lot of you did have a somewhat of an ending, but it's good to have a couple minutes to just say like, okay, now we're ending this time, we need to wrap up, kind of summarize what happened, or kind of leave them with something to think about, or ask them what they got out of the session. So just good practice. Totally not graded on it, but know you have that leeway to kind of, even if you're a little early, that's okay, but end by 20 minutes. And if you're running a little over, make sure you wrap up, because it's just important to end a counseling session on time, right as it is to meet this requirement for this course. So, okay, so I'll just run through the rubric. So basically we're doing the same thing as before: attending skills, use of questions, meaning limiting them except for clarifying information, or if you're absolutely stuck, or it's a very relevant question you need to ask. Reflection of content, reflection of feeling. So that's the skill. Those are the skills you're been practicing, be graded on again. Okay, and I gave you a hint in one of my videos too. Probably helpful to reflect content at the beginning when the client gives you their content that they're there for, right? And then move into some reflection of feeling. So, I mean, I can't, no one's really asked, but I can't really give you an amount you need to practice reflecting, but I would imagine you'd have at least 3 to 5 reflection of feelings and a couple of content. But it should be easy for you because we've been practicing these, all semester. Okay, so empathy is its own category. So verbal and nonverbal empathy. So I had this one video, a different class. The girl just looked so bored. The counselor just looked bored. And I told her that, and she's like, I do look bored. So obviously looking engaged, looking like you're interested, showing some concern on your face, or smiling with the client, things that we talked about, kind of matching their level of where they're at and showing that you're tracking with them and that you're trying your best to understand and feel with them. So that's just a general category. I don't think I had any real concerns for anyone with that category in the previous, well, it wasn't a grade, but just observing it, I probably would have mentioned it in your comments if I would have said you look bored or make sure you're attending better, things like that. Nothing jumps out to me. Okay, so focus on the client is on the rubric. I mentioned this to some of you specifically for your videos. So make sure we're focusing on the client and the client's issues. So for example, if the client brings up their, I don't know, partner or something, boyfriend or whatever, like, oh, my boyfriend was doing this and he got home from work and was angry. And I said, oh, where does your boyfriend work? Or, oh, is he always angry? Or like something, well, that's a bad example. Yeah, where does he work? That's not relevant. And it's kind of just taking the focus off of the issue and the client. Or even saying, how does your boyfriend respond when you're angry? That's his response and his problem. So if you're going down a path that leads you away from the client's issues, that you would lose points for the focus. So instead, kind of direct back, okay, how does that affect you? And a way you say really focus on the client, I would say, is by limiting some of those rabbit trails of questions and kind of irrelevant information. So yeah, I think I pointed that out to some of you on your first video. If you happen to do that or get away from the client, we all do it at times, but just be mindful of that. So I mean, even you could get a perfect score. The 10 says focus mostly on the client with a brief other focus for further clarification. So you can say like, how do they deal with their anger? But just don't go to, oh, where does he work? What does he do for self-care? Does he exercise? Does he have stress relief? That's focusing on the boyfriend's problems, not the client's. Okay, theory integration. So this one usually causes the most panic and questions and things like that. You do have to select a theory that you're going to incorporate and choose 2 techniques to use as interventions. So I would choose a theory that you're comfortable with and that you like, so it's easy and natural for you to demonstrate your techniques. Also, pick things that are easy to do and that are going to happen in 20 minutes. It's totally possible, but we don't need, a whole lot of extravagant therapy here. We don't need worksheets. We don't need like a huge educational introduction to it. So this is how it might look. So say I choose Gestalt because we're doing that this week. So maybe I just talk about when I'm reflecting the feeling, I might ask them to sit with it and experience it and talk about how their body feels. Okay. And then later, maybe I'll say, if this would work in your situation, why don't we try an intervention or technique, what's called empty chair. So I want you to pretend so-and-so or whatever is in this chair. So you might lead them into an activity like that can be done in a couple of minutes, but it shows you understand kind of how to use the skill, a technique, and can integrate it in some way. It doesn't have to even be that hands-on. You can use person-centered. You can show empathy and unconditional positive regard. That's 2. You can do Adlerian if you feel like that might be an appropriate one, which might include some goal setting and talking about birth order, something like that. Okay, so it can be simple, but you need to integrate 2 to get full credit. Totally doable in 20 minutes. But yeah, maybe have some ideas in your head too, like maybe 3 ideas. So if one kind of doesn't pan out or doesn't flow, you have something else to fall back on. That's how I would kind of be prepared for that. And then for your critique, okay, so that is like an assessment of your skills, strengths, and weaknesses, where you'd like to improve. I'm trying to think if there's the full explanation of that. I don't know if there's one actually. Okay, so it doesn't really say. Oh, okay. Using the headings on your rubric, provide a critique of your strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. You're going to use each category of the rubric. So attending skills, questions, reflection of content, reflection of feeling, empathy, focus on the client, theory integration, and you're going to put the, as your heading, the category, reflect on it. So saying attending, I thought I attended really well. I made good eye contact. My posture was facing the client. I looked open. A couple times I looked distracted because I checked the time. Okay, so simple, just strength, weakness. Don't overthink it. Doesn't have to be 5 paragraphs. I'd imagine it probably turns into like probably 2 pages by the time you're done with this. So again, just reflect on each one. Give me some examples of how you feel like you did well, and then what ways you'd like to improve. Okay, so that's that. Any questions for that? Of course, let me know. The earlier you ask, probably the better prepared you'll feel. So if there's any concern on my end, I let you know already and said, like, if you need to talk, if you need further clarification of how to use the skills or whatever. If I was encouraging or said nothing to you about a lot of improvement, you're probably doing fine, and I didn't have concerns for your final video. So just do what you did the first time and you'll be okay. I think I did specify too, if some of you had clients that weren't so forthcoming or didn't really have an issue to talk about, I might have suggested if you could find someone else, that might be good. But you're totally able to use the same person if you need to. All right, so that's that. Okay, so then for the last week, so that's due technically, sorry, I'm trying to go back and forth here. Technically the due date for the video will be the end of week 7, that Sunday at midnight, but you know me, I'm kind of lenient. So if you need an extension, I mean, I need to have things in, I would say by that Monday, the latest after that, the last week of class, Monday or Tuesday, but try to get it done because you guys got a lot to do. But they do take me, of course, a while to grade. So, all right, next on my agenda here. Okay, the technique demonstration. All right, so the technique demonstration, so this is due week 8. So we have a lot due week 8. You just have a lot. This class is really backloaded. Okay, so this week we just have quiz, discussion, article reaction. So week 7, you'll have journal 2, last one. If you do it, you get the points, so do it. Theory quiz 3, video session, and critique. Those 3 things. Week 8, which ends on a Wednesday, we have the techniques demonstration, which is another discussion, but it's a little bit, well, I don't know if it's easier, but the final exam and the case intervention. So for the threaded discussion, technique demonstration, I'll pair you up with somebody. I'll just send you like who's with who. You'll be in charge of contacting the other person, decide on a technique that you want to talk about. It doesn't have to be something, actually you're not even going to talk about it. You're going to write a summary of what it is. Art therapy is used for blah, 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 treating this. You might use it for these things in the setting. Here's a link to an article, a research scholarly article that supports it, and like a YouTube video or some sort of demonstration, not you, just like a video out there that demonstrates the theory. Okay. So again, it doesn't have to be something we've covered in this course. It can be CBT, like exercises, it could be art therapy, it can be EMDR, anything that is out there, like there's tons of them, that DBT, things that we don't even cover in these courses. It doesn't have to be in the textbook, or it can be if you want to further explore a family constellation or something like that. So pick a technique or some sort of intervention with your partner that interests you. Actually, I'd rather you do something that's not in this course, obviously. or that we didn't spend a lot of time on. So again, find those 3 things: summary, article, and video. So maybe somebody, work together, write the paragraph, one of you find one part of it, the other of you find the other part, post it under the discussion, and then you, the same way we've been doing discussions, responded to. Okay, so you get to learn some new things about some more therapeutic techniques out there, and yeah, connect with somebody in the class. So you're not doing all the work. Okay, so that's that. For the final, I think I typed this today in my email. I don't know how to call it a study guide, but I'll send you an email with like some points to focus on for the final. So there's 35 multiple choice, just like the quiz questions have been. 5 points matching, which are the defense mechanisms. So that's pretty easy, straightforward. And then 2 short answers. And the short answers are, if I can remember, I think they're pretty easy as far as like reflecting about yourself. It's not like write an essay about a case or something, something intricate. So probably the multiple choice would be the most challenging because it is cumulative. So again, I'll try to narrow it down a little bit for you of exactly what to cover. And I think there is like some of Cry of the Soul too. So I'll try to be helpful with that, so nobody is stressed about that. Okay, and well, of course you're stressed, it's a test, but you can do as well as you can do. Okay, the case intervention response. So that you'll need to click on that on Moodle. It'll take you to the directions when you click on the case intervention. So there's a few paragraphs of a lady that comes in to the agency with crisis, feeling, suicidal, things aren't great at home, she drinks, etc., etc. She can't guarantee she'll be safe if she goes home. So this information, so there's just 4 questions to answer. So it doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be a paper, just like write number 1, answer the question. Number 2, answer the question. You're not going to find this in the textbook. You'll find this information for week 4 crisis intervention PowerPoint lecture. Okay, so everything should be in there. So it's straightforward. We try to give you as much like crisis experience in the program, so you're more equipped to handle it when you get out. So just talking through how to handle crisis situations and suicidal clients, just because it's good practice, so you're more comfortable with what you need to do. So what type of crisis is Maria experiencing? Describe this crisis. So that is in the PowerPoints. There's a developmental crisis, there might be a personal crisis. Pick which one you think it is, explain why. 3 helpful statements that you might use if you're counseling her, 3 statements that you should avoid. Again, straight from the PowerPoint presentation. List 2 risk factors that should be assessed, and then describe 1 short-term and 1 long-term approach, and then why you think you would use those. So that, it shouldn't take you that long. I know it sounds like a lot, but the information's right there. So if you haven't listened to it already or read through those slides, you will need to do that for that assignment. Okay, so that is all I think I have as far as information to give you at this point. I think I'm going to try to post like a Gestalt example, not me demonstrating, but if I can find one on YouTube, I think it's a good theory to kind of watch. I know I posted a person-centered one a few weeks ago, but person-centered is pretty straightforward. So it might be interesting, kind of like an empty chair approach or something like that. If I can find one, might be worth watching. And yeah, other than that, that's all I got. So I'll post this video. Hope you're all having a safe, happy, wonderful week. I know you guys are all busy with families and jobs and everything going on. So thanks for plugging away at your work. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. All right, bye.